Bro, some clips don't just feel creepy. They feel like they're exposing a hidden book behind the scenes. Today, we're getting into CERN alleged conspiracies, the Reptilian playbook, and the hidden hand of Freemasonry and the Illuminati. Come on, man. This is Brosky Ray. Let's go!
Disclaimer: this video is for entertainment purposes only. Please do your own research, as these clips haven't been fact-checked.
So the biggest move in real estate has just went down and nobody's talking about it. Let's get into it. Now, you may or may not have heard of this little entity called Fannie Mae, which is a government-backed enterprise. Well, guess what? They just took a leap into innovation by now accepting crypto-backed mortgages. Now, for context on how they work, they actually buy mortgages, then package those up into mortgage-backed securities and then sells them to investors. And just to give you a glimpse of how major this is, they actually hold $4.3 trillion in assets.
Man.
Now, why would you use crypto if it's so volatile, and why is this important at all? Well,
The future, baby.
for one, you can actually use your crypto without selling it, creating a taxable event, using that towards your down payment on your mortgage, and even use stable coins so the price stays the same no matter what. Remember that one time where they said crypto was a scam and it would never be mainstream?
Yup.
Well, I hate to say I told you so, but
I told you so.
I told you so. Now, here's a rundown on how it works. You deposit your crypto collateral, then obtain your loan proceeds, then pay back your crypto loan, then receive your crypto collateral back after payment. But it gets even bigger. You guys, remember I told you about the DTCC, the Depository Trust and Clearing Corporation, which is actually the back office for the stock exchange. And I told you about the part where they got greenlit for tokenization, which is fractionalized investments on blockchain. Well, they also have a division that directly aligns with this whole thing, a mortgage-backed securities division, which means they'll be tokenizing those, which aligns with crypto-backed mortgages. Are we starting to see what's happening here? I'll say it once and I'll say it again. This is the biggest wealth transfer we'll see in our lifetime. Make sure you guys get into my Break the Matrix community where I teach you crypto, tokenization, and more. And let me know what you guys are doing. Are you guys sitting on the sidelines on this one, or are you jumping in? Let me know below.
I already jumped in. I've been buying XRP since it was 30 cents.
And that sound and that feeling, that is the frequency and vibrations. What the old world used so predominantly. And the true reason behind all the bells that magically disappeared. Or they tell us it was for ammunition for the wars. But many truths get lost in the fog of war. The healing and uplifting properties of bells have been used for generations. But it goes deeper than that, moving us from the true nature of this realm, making us all that much easier to control, question everything from
Healing our frequencies.
Black Hollywood has blood sacrifices?
Yes.
What does that even mean?
So this is the first thing that ever got me into conspiracy theories. I was in a rehab facility and a guy handed me a DVD and he said, "You have to check this out."
Okay.
And on it was a documentary about these blood sacrifices.
Like, who's in these documentaries?
Aaliyah, her death was not random. It was a blood sacrifice for Jay-Z and Dame Dash to build Rockefeller Records. We all know who Biggie's blood sacrifice benefited.
Diddy.
Oh, wait, this makes sense now. I can kind of see it. Show us this video.
I can't. That's the thing.
What?
I haven't been able to find it since I've seen it. That's why I'm asking if anybody knows where this documentary is, please DM us, send it to me.
What is it called?
I just know it's called Black Hollywood Blood Sacrifices. It's the blueprint for everything that's happening right now. Nicki Minaj is talking about it. Please send me this video.
Nicki Minaj.
You won't believe what's behind the story of these weird-looking blue goggles. And this is a subject which has the least amount of search results on Google that I've ever seen for any other theory or conspiracy. So in the early 1900s, a guy named Walter Kilner, who you can't even find a picture of him on Google, developed a sort of dye from coal tar. So he took this collodion-coated dye-treated glass plates and put Dicenian dye, that's the thing from the coal tar, in the middle of this glass. And the story goes that with these glasses, you can see outside of the normal range of visible light. All of a sudden, your eyeballs can detect different wavelengths and frequencies of light. And it's said to have enabled the user to see people's auras. And you could see how strong or how weak someone's aura is, which is the electromagnetic field that we all emanate, at least normal humans do. But where this gets a little crazy, it's said that Walter Kilmer, when he wore these glasses in public, not everyone had an aura. Not just a weak aura, but no aura at all. You remember the movie They Live? When he puts on glasses, he can see the aliens in the crowd that normally without the glasses just look like normal humans. Some say this movie was actually based on the events of Dicenian glass. And then, of course, Walter's place gets raided and all of his equipment confiscated, and this gets totally buried and no one knows anything about it to this day, except for a couple stories floating around the internet. So I'm going to try to get some Dicenium and make my own Dicenium glasses, and I'll see if you're real.
Similar to Tesla, stealing all his inventions and hiding them from the public.
53-year-old UFO researcher David Wilcock dies by apparent suicide. I told y'all, bro, it's getting out of hand. About these bald-head ass niggas, and bro, I'm trying to tell you, bro. Everybody like, oh, they demons. Oh, they from another planet. Somebody said they us from the future. Blew my goddamn mind. That's what we gonna look like after apocalypse? I don't like that nose. I'll be real. That nose and that mouth, I will not get a chicken mouth, so y'all might as well take me out now. If I gotta look like that, yeah, I'd rather be a spirit. No offense, aliens. I know y'all here now that I know y'all real. No offense, no smoke. Bald head ass. Long live David Wilcock, bro. He was just trying to save us. He was just trying to help us by telling us aliens here. We got that shit. We recovered them. We've been studying them since the 1940s. That's all he wanted to say. Folks ain't gonna commit suicide and pop up dead out of nowhere. And all of their ass had one thing in common. They bald head ass.
He committed suicide but was an advocate for suicide prevention.
Hollywood is not the land of dreams. It is the world's largest open-air altar of witchcraft. Do you think you go to the movies to have fun? No. You pay for a ticket to take part in a ritual. Look at the name, Hollywood.
Hollywood.
Translated Hollywood. It is the sacred wood that the Druids used to make their magic wands. The purpose of the wand is to direct energy and cast spells. That is exactly what your TV screen does to your mind. And who holds that wand? The Collins family, one of the oldest bloodlines directly linked to the Salem witches.
Wow.
They were not thrown into the fire.
I didn't know that.
They migrated to California and founded the studios. They traded the cauldron for the camera. Every movie, every clip, every trend is a sigil cast into the collective unconscious. They are not interested in your money. What they are really looking for is your faith and belief. You are not the audience. You are the sacrifice. They control the magic. But the next family controlled the American crown and paid with blood in the public square.
But they cannot change the final outcome, and that they brought upon themselves.
Okay, you guys, the entire world is completely upside down with the Iran, US, Israel attack, so there's two major things to watch out for, so let's get into it. So as you guys know, there's been strikes in Tehran, Iran, Israel, and now even in the US, so let's talk about sleeper cells. Because in Austin, Texas, a possible sleeper cell might have been activated. Now, this suspect was 53 years old, wearing a shirt saying property of Allah, and he opened fire in a local bar, killing 3 people and injuring 14 others. Also, reports say that he had a Quran in his car. That seems almost too convenient, though. Now, is this a real sleeper cell, or is this an inside job psyop? I guess we'll never know. But here's the thing. A former FBI agent just gave a stark warning saying there's other sleeper cells linked to Hezbollah and Hamas that could be operating inside the United States because of the strikes in Iran. And another weird thing, why was the shooter's name trending on Google weeks before it actually happened in DC and Arizona? Fort Huachuca, anybody? Also, there was a mass stabbing near DC on a highway, so don't know if this is a sleeper cell or an isolated incident. I guess we'll find out. Also, I do find it kind of interesting. Just a couple weeks ago in Iran, they torched this statue of Baal with America and Israel in mind. Then the attack happens. Interesting. Now, next, we have to address the money and really the entire global economy at this point. Now, China is being directly affected right now, being that they get a ton of oil from Iran, and here they are running military drills side by side. Not to mention, China gets 38% of their oil from the Strait of Hormuz, which is located in the Persian Gulf, which accounts for 20% of the entire globe's oil supply, or $500 billion worth. Which leads us to this. The UAE actually halts their entire stock market for 2 days because of the strikes. And this can't be good on any level because when this happens, investors start to panic. And I don't know if you guys knew this, but the Fed just last week injected $16 billion into the banking system, which means they knew this was coming. Now, when investors start to get scared, investors start to sell. So if they start selling U.S. treasuries, the government has to buy it back, causing a bunch of other problems. So I would start to look into gold, silver, crypto, cash. I don't know about these banks. Now, there's a million and one other things going on, so I'm doing a bigger breakdown on my YouTube, The Maverick Approach. But let me know what you guys think about all this down below.
Have you guys seen these posts by Ariane Langer de Rothschild? She's wearing the Eye of Providence like it's a fashion statement. Eye of Providence equals 86, which means to 86 you. But more importantly, Providence equals 57, which is the Mason logo, right? The curve and the angle of the 5 and 7. Because why? Because 5 equals 24 and 7 equals 20, which is 44 genocide. So really, it's the eye of genocide. And these women are wearing it like it's a fucking fashion statement. Yeah. But it's really the eye of 57, the eye of Providence, which is the eye of Freemason, which is the eye of genocide. Yet this is a fashion statement to these ladies. People, you need to sign, share, and promote the Full Disclosure Act. We must expose the occult. They literally think that wearing a sign that means to 86 you is a fashion statement. That's how sick in the head these people are. Anyhow, the eye of 57, the eye of Providence, the eye of genocide. Sign, share, and promote the Full Disclosure Act. And if you really have some guts, if you really have the balls, get some Lethal 22 clothes and wear it on the street and let them know that we know that the eye of Providence equals 86, that Providence equals 57, that 57 is the Masonic logo, and 57 is really 5-7, which is 24, 20, which is 44, which is genocide. So nice fashion statement, ladies. Peace.
That's their NWO New World Order uniforms.
The island is a family reunion for the presidents?
All the presidents since George Washington until now are all cousins. Barack Obama, George Bush, they are cousins related to a great-grandfather named Samuel Hinckley. Obama and Clinton and Sutton from the 1600s is their great-great-great-great-grandmother. And that's the truth that's in the Epstein files that Trump doesn't want to get out.
That's why he's blocking them?
Yes. Everyone knows he's been on the island. Nobody cares. But what's really going on there is that that's where they all meet for their family reunion.
And so there's pictures of Trump at that reunion.
Yeah. They're all holding hands, eating barbecue, cooking, having a good time.
Wow.
Dude, they all are singing karaoke, playing spades. It's crazy. Trump's not afraid of being Me Too'd or people finding out that he was on the island. It's deeper than that. He's afraid of everybody knowing that he's related to the same genealogy as all the other presidents. He can't actually drain the swamp because he was born into it.
I don't think Trump is related.
Turns out it's not just scientists in the United States that have been dying lately of mysterious deaths. It's happening in China, too. At least 9 scientists have mysteriously died in China, and the causes of death are recorded as accidents, sickness, or unexplained incidents. Here are some examples. Zhang Daibing, 47, died in January of unexplained causes. He was the expert former deputy director of unmanned systems. Fang Dining, 68, died of an unexpected medical episode in February of 2026. He was a hypersonics expert, studied materials for spacecraft and advanced engines at the Beijing Institute of technology. Yen Hong died just last month at age 56 of a reported illness. She was in the field of hypersonics research. Some of the other scientists were in the field of military, AI, including swarming technology and simulations. Sound familiar? And even their media is calling this extremely uncommon. Mainstream media is already saying that this could be espionage and that scientists have always been a political target, even though there is no evidence to support that. But I have to wonder if countries are actually working together to get rid of their smartest people so that they can't question whatever narrative is to come. What do you think? As always, let me know down below.
The Epstein class is acting out.
One of the biggest reasons I think they whited out the skies were because of airships. Take a look at this bird's eye view drawing from 1855 of New York. This is just one of many depictions of airships long before their time. Depictions that go back thousands of years, like the flying Vimana in India. Heck, you didn't even need a mooring station for some of these airships. You could just drop a ladder. But it's not just artistic depictions we have of airships. What we do see is the infrastructure already long in place and quite advanced tech for the day, with mooring stations being able to be put up anywhere from the middle of nowhere to the middle of the water to the most cold remote place and to many of the structures. The cities were all built for airships with mooring stations all around. All those empty bell towers now. It is also why some of the most extravagant architecture could be built on some of the most remote areas of this realm. It is why we had detailed maps of places like Antarctica hundreds of years before they say Antarctica was discovered. It's because traveling to Antarctica in an airship would have been a breeze. But we are told one false flag grounded these ships. But in fact, I still think they're flying around today. Think of those cigar-shaped UFOs hidden high up in the skies. Question everything, friends. Until next time.
Reptilians can bother you in the dream state. This is how they typically come after me. And of course, before I go into my dream story, please understand there's good and bad in all species. But last night, I just happened to run into a reptilian shapeshifter that was of malevolent intent. In this dream, I just remember that I was a part of some organized group and there was a leader of this organized group. I don't remember if it was something religious. I don't remember exactly the details. I just remember that there was some sort of malevolent leader. I picked up on the fact that this guy was not good, that he had malevolent intent, and I knew intuitively in the dream that he was a reptilian. And so I called him out. I was like, hey, I know who you are and I know what you are. You need to cut the crap. He then shifted out of his human form and he shifted into a reptilian. The moment that this happened in the dream, I was not surprised. I was really not taken aback, even though he really came very close up to my face to try to intimidate me. I wasn't intimidated because I already knew his energy. I knew who he was. And the thing that actually really caught my eye was his skin and scales. They were such a beautiful green blue color. His eyes were yellow and kind of creepy looking, but his skin was so freaking magnificent in blue. Like I've got like my shiny nails and this is very similar to what his skin looked like, but it was more scaly and it was more green. I've never had an experience with a green blue reptilian. I share this so that you can know different ways in which reptilians can come around you. The dream state is a very popular place for them to meet you. So if you have any dreams about reptilians, please know you're not crazy. You're just cosmic. You're not making it up. And it very much could have been a reptilian dream visitation. For anybody who's interested in learning more about the reptilians or anybody who's on an awakening path, whether you're new to awakening or if you've been on this path for a while, I do have a free school community for you to learn more. I am an ET contactee and channel. I channel galactic wisdom. And so I can help you out with any of your weird esoteric experiences. And so I hope to see you in the school community.
I'll pray before I go to bed. No reptilians bother me.
Guys, I know that this is about to sound insane, but you need to follow with me. There is a real theory that aliens are actually just humans from the future, and the scientist that was working on this entire thing is now one of the 12 who have gone missing. One of them was Amy Eskridge, and her father was actually a NASA rocket engineer. They worked on all of this together. She said that aliens are not from another planet, they're actually just us from the future, and she said that they're called P-47s and P-52s. She said that a catastrophic event happens and forces humans underground for thousands of years. And after that long with no sunlight, your eyes would grow massive, your skin would lose all of its color, your body would shrink, and you would lose all of your hair. That is the science of what would happen to a human if you were underground for that long, and that is literally what people have been describing aliens to look like for decades. Hello? And if you're somebody that's ever seen the movie Interstellar, that is literally the ending. It was never aliens, it was us the entire time. And if this is true, that means that the catastrophic event that forces us underground hasn't happened yet, obviously, but a retired NASA engineer and a congressman have both publicly discussed this. And on Kalshi right now, millions of dollars are riding on whether the government is going to confirm that aliens exist before 2027. And obviously the scientist that was just researching all of this information is now gone. This is obviously just a theory, but this is what all of her research was based on, and now she's gone. And she's one of the 12.
I think they are human and fallen angel hybrids. What do you think?
Just look at it out in the middle of Lake Michigan. This just looks so old and like weathered already. And this was after completion of this project. And it's very beautiful, old world. They had all these lighthouses that look very much like airship mooring stations, which would make building these out there a lot more plausible than the narrative gives us behind them. Okay, so off of the coast, they would have one system and they would tunnel down with no heavy equipment, no power tools, no excavators, all by hand. And they would dig down all the way, several miles down and several miles out. These things are enormous. They are 80 to 100 feet across, these water cribs. They sit in about 30 to 60 feet of water, and they're made of stone and concrete. The 2-mile crib alone used over 80,000 tons of stone, and they're connected to the city by these tunnels that you see here that run anywhere from 2 to 4 miles under the lake bed through solid bedrock. So this wasn't just the muddy bottom of the lake. They would build 2 to 4 miles under the lake bed, all before any modern excavation, any power tools, anything like that. And again, these were built also in rapid time. Within a year to 2 years, some of these massive excavation projects took to build these water cribs.
So they found those and built a little shitty shack on top.
Reptilians on Earth have been hiding in plain sight until now. Here are 3 physical traits that they have. Number 1, their eyes. Reptilian eyes don't blink up and down. They blink side to side. They project the energy of a human eye so you never see their real eye, the vertical slit. But every once in a while, when they cannot maintain the human form they are projecting, their true form shows through. Number 2, their skin. This one isn't as obvious, but still slightly off. Up close, it can feel tighter, almost textured in a way that doesn't match the rest of their appearance. Like there's something underneath that doesn't fully blend with what you're seeing. And third, children and animals notice first. Dogs reacting out of nowhere, staring, backing up, getting alert. Kids go quiet and pull back. Before anything is said and before anything happens, they pick up on something. They're not reacting to what they see. They're reacting to what they feel. So if something ever feels slightly off, if one of these traits ever stands out, pay attention to that. And if you want a playbook on how the reptilians work, I've created the official reptilian playbook to help you with that, to spot them in your neighborhood. Comment the word reptilian and I'll send you the link.
But does witchcraft and Christianity go hand in hand?
Witchcraft and Christianity, I think, no, because one is a male-dominated religion and one is a female-dominated religion. And, you know, with my ancient Anglo-Saxon and pagan roots, I'm into the worship of the divine Mother Goddess, Mother Earth, Gaia. And I think, Yeah, that women. I mean, that's how
Can we have one? Empty.
The worship of the divine.
Empty. Do you do black magic, madam?
Female worship.
I could.
What type of curses have you put on men?
Only nice ones. Lovely ones.
You're a lovely
Love
person.
curses.
I love you. How'd you get those beautiful eyes? They're amazing.
How did you want to acquire such eyes?
Yeah.
Eye contact.
Yes.
I worship the divine mother goddess and the Gaia, the earth goddess, and I mean, I think basically what they call it, the destruction of trees should be punishable by death, and the destruction of animals.
I rebuke all of this in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ.
The operation of underground storage has begun. All the vehicles are moving in. We got the families moving into place. This is the mine where we're going to be held up for months. We're preparing, man. I told you. We had to get ready for what's coming. So, we got our families and stuff. Food storage is good up. We're packed up pretty tight in here. But it's going to be good to go, man. I mean, better safe than sorry. So we're getting loaded up. Everybody's moving in. We have different families in different sections. Right on. You got to be prepared. We've reinforced this just in case of any blast up above. But we are literally under a mountain here. You got to be ready for what's to come, people. And we are.
Where is this?
Right on. Like I said, we're packed in there a little bit tight. We're going to make this work. About 400 families down here. All right, here we go. Wish us luck. If you can, take cover while there's still time.
The conflict and hatred between nations is being fostered by certain interested parties. It is a small, rootless, international clique that incites nations against each other, that does not want them to find peace. These are the people who are at home everywhere and nowhere, who have no roots anywhere, who have not grown from any soil, but who may live in Berlin today, just as easily be in Brussels tomorrow, the day after in Paris, and then again in Prague or Vienna or London, and who feel at home everywhere. They are the unique actors who can truly be described as international elements, because they actively conduct their business in almost every place in the world.
Is this Hitler?
So we know that the elites love their invite-only parties. We see this with the Bohemian Grove. They always feature rituals and occult symbolism at these parties. The Rothschild Surrealist Ball in 1972 was of course no exception to this. Marie-Helene de Rothschild, as well as Guy de Rothschild, held a ball at Château de Ferrières. The Château de Ferrières is a 20,000 square foot estate. This is a massive plot of land. It was said to be the largest and most luxurious chateau of the 19th century. Something I always gotta point out is the fact that this place has a checkerboard floor, just like the Masonic lodges do. I noticed the elite houses and the Masonic lodges all have the same type of flooring, which is very interesting. This chateau was built in 1855 by James Rothschild. James was sent to France by his father Meyer to establish the French part of the Rothschild banking system. I covered Meyer and his 5 sons in a previous episode. You guys can go check that out. So Marie-Helene Rothschild invited about 150 guests, and on this invitation, the writing was backwards. Anybody that knows anything about this cabal, this satanic cabal, they like to do things in reverse. They like to do the opposite of things, polar opposites. This is a very common and prevalent practice in the music industry. You see these artists that record these songs. If you reverse these songs that they're recording, they'll have hidden meanings, hidden messages. So one of the rules for this party was that people had to wear these masks. These attendees would have to wear these surrealist masks. What's really interesting about this whole movie is the fact that Stanley Kubrick would die a couple days after releasing this final cut to Warner Brothers. Anytime we see the elites host these parties, we're always seeing Hollywood actors, music industry, government leaders. They're all attending this party. Salvador Dali and Yves Saint Laurent were there. Salvador Dali was primarily the one designing these headpieces of these costumes, but Yves Saint Laurent did a little bit of it as well. Dali was a really, really weird guy. He was like a Hitler enthusiast. He also made some images of him that were supposedly sexually explicit in nature. I didn't really look into all that. So not only was he said to be like a Nazi sympathizer, but it was also said that he did like weekly orgies, and that's very fitting for these parties. They're always doing things like that. Here's a picture of Dali at the Surrealist Ball with Italian nobility. This is Princess Maria Gabriella. This was the daughter of the last Italian king, Umberto II. So Marie Helene Rothschild wore the fallen stag costume mask. This, of course, featured the large antlers / horns. You see a lot of antlers and horns with these deities that they worship. But also the stag was crying. It had diamond tears. These elites and these occultists love the idea of things that have fallen, like the fallen angels. This is what they ultimately look up to. So think about the mask. It's fallen and it's weeping. If you look at a lot of the modern angel statues...
Mar-a-Lago is a terrible place. You don't have to go to Epstein Island. Mar-a-Lago is the home of all debauchery.
Damn, I've been invited there a few times.
Don't go. Don't you take your ass down there. I'm going to pray for you.
It's not done? I actually didn't know that. A lot of people in the podcast space go there, especially on the right, obviously.
I am suspicious
Patrick
of
Bet
that.
David, a lot of people.
Did you mention his name on this show?
Who? Patrick Bet David?
Don't ever mention his name.
You don't like Patrick Bet David?
He's a hatchling, bro.
Really?
Are you serious?
He just messaged me yesterday.
Yeah, they're trying to bring you over to the dark side of things. Don't go. You hear me?
Yo, I'm doing my best.
Yeah, don't do it.
He's trying to bring you to the dark side. Look at your head, man. Balenciaga? Come on, man.
It's the wife of God the Father. It's your mother, Ima Yerushalayim, Galatians 4. We have one mother, Mother Jerusalem, mother of us all. It is written. Amen. You have one Father, the Father of all fatherhood, Father God. Everyone knows that. But do you know you have one mother of all motherhood, Jerusalem? See, Roman demons, they do not want you to know the Holy Ghost that well, because the Holy Spirit is the one who manifests the eternal covenant, and it's by the Spirit of God we drive out demons. So demons don't want to be driven out. They want to control everything. So they changed that right away in the 4th century to Mary is the mother. We worship Mary. Hail Mary, full of grace. Hallowed is thee. And all this other crazy mothers that, I mean, God bless Mary. She's awesome. She's a saint and cloud of witnesses. But that was a perversion of the 1st century apostolic church. And the perversion was so deep that almost no Christian today on earth knows the Holy Spirit as Mother Jerusalem. Fallen angels did that. Fallen angels removed that understanding from the church.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Ninjas Aren't Butterflies. Today we're going to be talking about how the CIA has new technology that can track anyone in the entire world. It's wild, and it's called the Ghost Murmur.
And AI has done it again. Anthropic has created a new AI that can destroy everything. It gets out of parameters, and it's coming for your data.
And have you heard of Braveheart? Well, I'm going to tell you how the Knights Templar were involved in that and many other battles that shaped the history of the Earth.
And unless you're Donald Trump's AI image specialist, this podcast is brought to you and powered by Sunday Cool. So watch this or listen.
Nice. I like how you started doing that.
Thanks. I'm not going to do it every time, so don't get used to it.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Did you know that deep in China's remote mountains, villagers have been documenting encounters with creatures that shouldn't exist? They call them Yeren, bipedal ape-like beings that walk upright through the ancient forests of Hubei province. But these aren't your typical Bigfoot sightings. Witnesses describe something far more unsettling. The Yeren use tools. They communicate with primitive language. And most disturbing of all, they seem to guard sacred forest sites with an intelligence that defies explanation. Scientific expeditions have collected hair samples that test as unknown primate DNA. Footprint casts reveal human-like arch structures impossible for any known ape species. But here's what makes your blood run cold. These creatures don't just wander aimlessly. They perform what can only be described as ritual behaviors around specific trees. They systematically avoid modern human settlements, as if they understand our world but choose to remain hidden. For thousands of years, they've coexisted alongside Chinese civilization, watching from the shadows, protecting their ancient domains. The question isn't whether they exist, it's how long they've been watching us.
I was really shocked when I found out that this is something that affects every single living human, in fact, every single living organism on the face of the earth. You could be leading a healthy lifestyle. You could be jogging, eating raw food, taking vitamins, and all those kind of things. But these guys don't care. These guys are persistent. They're dangerous. They're deadly. They've been around for millions of years. They know what they're doing. And they're inside of all of us. And we're constantly being exposed to this going on. It's going on inside every one of us. And this is something that we all need to take very seriously.
This is not science fiction. This is scary, it's real, and it's serious. Monsters living inside us that eat our bodies and control our emotions, urges, and thoughts.
As a colon hydrotherapist for approximately 21 years now, you wouldn't believe what I see coming out of people's bodies.
This is not just a third world country thing. Everybody has them. Even normal people with lots of money living in suburbia who take showers 3 times a day. If you eat sushi, you have parasites. 1 square inch of raw sushi meat.
I love sushi.
Can contain 10,000 parasite larvae and eggs that begin hatching inside you the minute you eat it. The most common kind is tapeworms, which can grow to 60 feet long and live in your intestines for decades. If you have pets, you are guaranteed to have parasites. It doesn't matter if you're vegetarian, raw foodist, vegan, or macrobiotic. Even the healthiest and richest people on earth have parasites. You can't kill them all.
I'm starting detox next week, though.
Strange experimentation. There are beings from portals coming in and out. Beings coming in and out of portals. Yes, they have apparently in the bottom of the CERN this portal, this door where they are dealing with all the subatomic dimensions.
She's not the only one talking about this. If you've seen the latest video, you know Dan Burish has been saying the same thing.
They are from the future, 45,000 years ahead of
45,000 years ahead on a separate timeline than what we are presently on.
People from the future coming through open portals. I can't even wrap my mind around it. And now, to hear a CERN insider saying it out loud. But here's what's more disturbing.
When you look at what is going on in the CERN, there is a fight from some of the military agencies. Intel, they say that there is a fight on time. They're trying to change time.
Trying to change time or changing timelines. The cornucopia was there. Tinkerbell did dot the I in the Disney intro. Pikachu's tail had a black tip, but now they say it was never there. And there are dozens of examples just like this. And every single one of them messes with my head. Lately, I feel something is off. Something is wrong with time itself. I can feel it. And I know a lot of you can feel it too. I have this feeling that time is broken. It passes too fast, even if I stay and do nothing for an entire day. Okay, I know there are some scientific explanations for that. But what about the Mandela effect? How do you explain?
Strange experimentation. There are beings from portals coming in and out. Beings coming in and out of portals. Yes, they have apparently in the bottom of the CERN this portal, this door where they are dealing with all the subatomic dimensions.
She's not the only one talking about this. If you've seen the latest video, you know Dan Burish has been saying the same thing.
They are from the future, 45,000 years ahead of
45,000 years ahead on a separate timeline than what we are presently on.
People from the future coming through open portals. I can't even wrap my mind around it. And now, to hear a CERN insider saying it out loud. But here's what's more disturbing.
When you look at what is going on in the CERN, there is a fight from some of the military agencies. Intel, they say that there is a fight on time. They're trying to change time.
Trying to change time or changing timelines. The cornucopia was there. Tinkerbell did dot the I in the Disney intro. Pikachu's tail had a black tip, but now they say it was never there. And there are dozens of examples just like this. And every single one of them messes with my head. Lately, I feel something is off.
Did you know that deep beneath Turkey, ancient texts describe a serpent queen who ruled a hidden, underground, reptilian civilization that some say still exists today for entertainment purposes only? Her name was Shamaran, a half-woman, half-serpent being said to possess forbidden knowledge of healing, immortality, and the secrets of the earth itself. According to Middle Eastern folklore and later Ottoman-era stories such as Shamaran Hikayat, Shamaran lived in a vast subterranean realm in inner earth called Maran, hidden deep beneath the mountains of southeastern Turkey. One of the oldest written versions of her story appears in Persian and Anatolian manuscripts dating back centuries, where she's described as a wise ruler of a race of serpent beings. In the legend, a man named Khemshab accidentally discovers her hidden world. Instead of killing him, she teaches him alchemy, herbal medicine, and healing. A sultan who was fatally ill at the time cycled through multiple physicians who tried to heal him, beheading all of those who failed, except the last one who said his only cure was Shamaran's flesh. The sultan tortured Khemshab to show him the location. The sultan eventually finds her, and she is divided into 3 parts to consume: the head, body, and tail. The physician winds up eating the head and begins to understand the language of all living things and plants and can foresee future events. Khemshab is forced to eat the body and is consumed with guilt for his betrayal, and the king dies after eating the venomous tail. Shammaran's image appears everywhere in traditional Anatolian art, such as the Hittite Empire, which is riddled with serpent symbolism. Carvings, reliefs, and seals from sites like Hattusa depict intertwined serpents guarding gates, representing power, protection, and hidden knowledge. Even earlier Neolithic sites like Göbekli Tepe, over 11,000 years old, feature repeated serpent imagery carved into massive stone pillars. In parts of Turkey, it's said that the descendants of Shammaran still exist. And this is not far-fetched when looking at my previous videos about Japan's royal family admittedly having reptilian bloodlines, or China's entire population descending from ancient dragon or reptilian founders. And of course, the Hindu Nagas, or the serpent beings of ancient Mesopotamia, all carry a similar thread. Shammaran's appearance is strikingly similar to all of them, especially that of the real historical figure, the half-serpent king being Cecrops, who was the first king of Athens 3,000 years ago. So what if Shammaran wasn't just a mythological figure, but a memory of a forgotten reptilian age where serpent kings and queens ruled openly and are still waiting beneath the surface today?
You know, reminded me of Beowulf story.
Unbelievable. The 16th person, an Air Force veteran, would-be UFO whistleblower, passes of an accidental OD after agreeing to testify to Congress. It is being alleged that the former Air Force intelligence officer had agreed to testify before Congress about secret government UFO programs, and he passed away months before the hearings of an accidental OD. Matthew James Sullivan was only 39 years old. As a former Air Force intelligence officer, he was also allegedly a critical UFO witness. And now a documentary is supposed to come out alleging that there were a trove of leaked documents proving that U.S. labs where missing scientists worked were studying UFOs. This is all alleged, of course. The documentary alleges that U.S. government was secretly conducting UFO-related experiments for decades. Reporter Jeremy Corbell claims in the documentary Sleeping Dog that he received valuable classified documents from the son of deceased ex-cybersecurity chief at highly secretive New Mexico lab. Los Alamos National Lab, that is, founded by Robert Oppenheimer, had 2 former employees vanish without a trace within the last year. Anthony Chavez was last seen in May of 2025 when he disappeared while going on a walk. Like so many of the other missing scientists, he left both his wallet and key at home, and his body was not found despite weeks of searching. Other UFO whistleblowers have allegedly also faced threats to their safety after coming forward with world-shattering info. David Grosh, who is also an Air Force and Intel community veteran, testified to Congress in 2023 that he had information about UFOs and non-human biologics, and he said that he received credible threats before his revelations to the American public. Matthew James Sullivan, age 39, passed in Falls Church, Virginia on May 12, 2024. Sullivan won a Bronze Star for valor during Operation Endure Freedom. According to a chief medical examiner, there was a combination of substances in the OD. Some of these substances are said to relax the nervous system and used to treat anxiety and bedwetting in children.
Look into the Chinese scientist deaths. Oh, we just saw the clips.
Could it be that the potential of the human being is so vast, once our pineal gland is activated, that's one of the big secrets. There is a functional third eye.
Man, there's Kabbalah, man. Jewish occultism.
Inside your brain. We've talked about that in previous videos. Yep. When we get to this pineal activation, is there going to be some sort of transfiguration of the earth and the way that things have been going on earth into a happier and more positive age? Now, the human being is a galactic emanation. DNA is a universal and galactic emanation. Or a blueprint that is written into ancient mythology. Same sequence of events happening to the same main character all across the world. So many different people have chosen to diagram this as a circle, and there's a very good reason for that. Because in many ancient cultures, it's called the Wheel of Fortune or the Wheel of Karma. And these are the cycles of life. So we begin at the top of the cycle, not knowing very much. You can see here that the first thing that happens to the hero is a call to adventure. Then we have supernatural aid that comes in. There is a threshold guardian, i.e. an enemy, that interrupts the call to adventure. Then as we go through the threshold, we move into the unknown world. This is a magical kingdom that we now enter into. There is a threshold area. There are mentors and helpers that come to help us. Increasing challenges and temptations as we're trying to get our goal, our quest, this is all about a quest, met. And then we hit this bottom point, the abyss, and it should very much be at the bottom of the wheel. This is the point called all is lost, or the dark night of the soul, where it seems that there's no way out and there may actually be the risk of physical death, if not an actual death, in the story. But through this process comes revelation and transformation. There is a facing off against the villain, and this is a very important point. The villain in these stories represents the projection of the father. The father projection. We all seem to have issues with our parents growing up, and in this hero's story, the father represents the negative, the adversary, but it also represents your ego, the part of you that is uninformed by cosmic intelligence and wisdom. So you face off against the father figure, you go through this revelation, you understand how to move through that challenge and vanquish the nemesis, but then there's an atonement with the father, a sort of apology and forgiveness. Then you eventually cross back into the known world, and then you have to return to the world you came from. And from that return, you now transform the world for the better.
Major General Neil McCasland left an open book on X, and no one is reading his tweets. Think about who this man is. He didn't just work for the Air Force, he ran the Air Force Research Lab.
Listen to this lady explain how Neil McCasland left an open book of information and Easter eggs on his X before he disappeared. It's believed that he may have been alluding to the fact that you can get energy and electricity from the ether, and you don't need the cables or oil to produce it. That's just one of the many theories as to why they're getting rid of these scientists, that they discovered how to get electricity from simply out of the air. What do you think?
He was the gatekeeper for Pentagon's most sensitive special access programs. Then on February 27th, he walks out his New Mexico home and just vanishes. 10 days before he disappeared, the military pulled a massive PR stunt called Operation Windlord. They used C-17s to transport micronuclear reactors across the country. The news calls it clean energy revolution, but McCasland, he posted one word: idiocracy. He was trying to tell us that while they're disclosing micronukes to the plebs, us, they are hiding the discovery that makes nuclear power look like a campfire. McCasland wrote that electricity can be for free. He explained that a lightning bolt isn't just weather. It's a nonlinear discharge of an adiabatic field that is always flowing around us. He's talking about tapping into the Earth's own magnetosphere. He's telling us that this energy crisis is manufactured lie to keep us all paying for the fuel while the government harvests the sky for free. He goes deeper. He talks about the 2DOF lattice, a forbidden state of physics where mass loses its grip on reality. He says if you sink an ion in an electron wave at a macroscopic interface, you don't take off with engines. You float away. No inertia, no G-forces. It's the technology he was overseeing before he was unplugged. This explains why we see a craft making 90-degree turns that should liquefy the human pilot. And here is the something dark part. McCasland is just one of the 9 top-level American scientists who have disappeared or died in the last year. Most were tied to the Air Force Research Lab. In the 3 addresses yesterday by Trump, Starmer, and Albanese talked about national resiliency and fuel fines. They want us scared and dependent on their grid. McCasland's open book is the only thing standing between us and an engineered dark age. Do your research yourself. His X account is still up.
I don't understand how Americans just let their citizens get killed and don't do anything about it.
If these cities were already here, these structures were already here, like Albany, New York State Capitol, then we'd find other footprints of the previous civilization, wouldn't we? Well, of course you would. And the best place to look for these footprints isn't just above ground, although this for me is just everything I need to see. Another really key part to this whole research is the archives and what they were finding underground. This article is from 1928. It's called Underground Albany. There were workers excavating on North Pearl Street. They uncovered old wooden water mains beneath the city. These were not random logs. The article says they were 8 to 12 feet long, drilled through the center, the whole way, drilled through the center, tapered on one end, belled on the other, and fitted together so they could hold water. And of course, I'm sure this part explained it for people. In 1802, they poured 40 grand into their water system. That's where they came from, guys. Mind you, in Albany, there was about 5,000 people there. Okay, that's a lot of money for 5,000 people. Then in 1845, they dumped 80 grand, and then they were switching to lead pipes. And then the article says, as to how the holes were drilled through the long lengths of log from end to end appears to be a question. Some contend that the holes were drilled or bored, but what machinery was used is unknown. The writer tried to give it one more go just to explain this off, and he said that they might have burned a hole through 8 feet to 12 feet long, perfectly through. Or maybe it just wasn't ours. Maybe we didn't make that. And what makes it even more mysterious is these same type of water mains were found in many other cities. This is New York in 2006. These wooden water mains were found in Philadelphia, although I'm thinking 205 is a little short. Salem, Massachusetts, right there, you see it? A description of what they were finding in LA was a maze of bricks. And they were also finding those wooden pipes and conduits. But the most shocking location is when I found this article in Sydney, Australia in 1927 up there. And they were working on the Harbor Bridge, and 30 to 35 feet below the ground, they found these wooden pipings. In Australia, they shouldn't be 30 to 35 feet below the ground. And unbelievably, they say it was convict labor, relics of convict days. Well, why is it 30 to 35 feet below the ground? Sounds like there was an advanced civilization in Australia at one point, and then they got buried. And something really big happened in Australia, because even in South Brisbane, at 16 feet in 1932, they found a bridge. They found a bridge and then tried to play it off like that was the old level of the road. I'm convinced that the mad people in my comments think I just point at every 19th century structure and go, old world. It's all of the puzzle pieces together that allow me to even point. Love y'all, and have a good day.
What is the Committee of 300? Well, I've dealt with that. I've told you this is a supranational body that knows no boundaries, respects the laws of no countries. The first time that they were publicly announced was by a German socialist by the name of Walter Rathenau. Now, I'll give you some background of Walter Rathenau. He was the financial advisor to the Kaiser of Germany, and he was also the financial advisor to the Rothschilds, the French family Rothschild. So he must have known what he was talking about. He made an astonishing statement in 1934. He said, there is a committee of 300 men that rule the world. They are known only to each other, and nothing happens without their consent. Came across this quite by accident when I was serving in Africa, in Angola, and I was given a series of documents which were only supposed to be handed in to top-level people. They were what we call above the top level of classification of intelligence documents. And there I discovered that whilst I thought I was in Africa fighting against the invasion of the communists, I was in fact fighting to introduce socialist regimes in the black African countries, and that I was actually working for a committee called the Committee of 300, also known in intelligence circles as the Olympians. In 1986, I wrote a work called Mind Control, Metaphysics, Extremely Low Frequency Radiation and Weather Modifications. And in that work, July the 8th, 1986, I said that the top-level intelligence organization in the United States was the National Reconnaissance Office, far bigger than the CIA and any of the other intelligence agencies. And by the way, we have about 10 different ones in the United States. I even had the audacity to give the address of this organization. 3 weeks ago, Mr. Sam Donaldson, the gentleman who wears that beautiful toupee so effectively, he came on with the program in prime time, and he said, this is one of the biggest scoops that ABC has ever had. and he told about the National Reconnaissance Organization. The exact same thing that I published 8 years earlier. I tell you this to set the stage so that you'll understand I do have some experience and that I know that of which I speak.
I would want the world to know about ascension. I would want the world to know that we are very, very close. And all the people on the inside know this. This is the key of disclosure. We are very close to some sort of energetic shift the sun is going to do. There have already been multiple experiments, I've heard this from several insiders, in which they take ordinary folks and they put them into a room and they zap them with the energy that our sun is going to give off when we go through this change, become very blissed out. They start to get really telepathic. They can move things with their mind. Everybody kind of goes into a psychedelic trip. Our government knows that this is going to happen, where there's no veil left, where we are wide open to reality.
That's why they want to block the sun. They have been causing the heat waves with the chemtrails and weather manipulations.
He who knows the secret of the sound knows the mysteries of the whole universe. Something the advanced civilizations of our past not only unlocked those mysteries, but utilized them in their architecture. These cathedrals, cymatic healing centers, powered of course by that ether harnessing free energy architecture, healing and empowering our own frequencies. Take a look at this video. We are all resonating our own cymatic frequency. And this demonstration here captures it perfectly. A simple bird bath in the sunlight, and with a touch of a finger, showing off that beautiful vibration of God's creation. Wow. And if you look, as different people come up and give it a try, you are seeing a slight variation in their frequency, like a fingerprint. But unlike a fingerprint, our frequencies can vibrate in harmony.
Beautiful.
You can feel that in certain instances when we gather collectively, at certain music events, at church, singing songs of praise. From my own experience, those type of instances, you can feel a true vibration, an uplifting feeling deep inside your heart. I feel that is but a fraction of our true power when we find true unity and peace, something that globalist parasites have been chipping away from us, bit by bit and little by little, from our architecture, our practices of faith, our practices of medicine and healing, and even the music we listen to, have all become twisted perversions of what they once were, all by design, all to keep us at a lower negative vibration, keeping us at a weakened state, more susceptible to sickness, more susceptible to manipulations. Remember, just because you can't see the bars to your jail cell, doesn't mean you're not in one. The best type of cage is one where you can't even see it, giving us prisoners the illusion of freedom. Question everything, friends. Until next time.
Thank you. Wow, look at that. It's all fun and games until they reach hell.
Hold this for me for 10 seconds. Record this. This is a mind-blowing situation, man. 7. Please carry on. Second degree Freemason here, everyone, yeah? He just said no comment to doing the ritual where you have to be noosed and blindfolded. Cowardly people. Carry on.
So essentially what is there is in a conversation within Freemasonry, we don't talk about politics, we don't talk about economics, and we don't talk about
I asked you to talk about the ritual that you had to do to become a first degree, and you're a second. You know, to do like a 16th degree Freemason, you have to run over a lady and a child. So this is the level, he doesn't know what he's talking about. But carry on. I'm trying to help you. I'm being strict, but I'm trying to help you. I've seen a young king who's deeply ignorant.
One of the tenets of Freemasonry is human trafficking. That's all I'm going to say. Well, we can't. They tell me what I can say.
Glasses off. What are you talking about?
They tell me what I can say and what I can't say.
Okay. So you're under like a blood oath.
But why? If it's a religion, you should be able to speak freely about it.
You know when the young kings are talking more sense than a grown man at Speaker's Corner. Young kings saying this certificate, how the birth certificate enslaves us. This is what the Freemasons have done to destroy our culture. Yeah, when you're born, a birth certificate is created, yeah, and it's called the straw man, yeah, and then millions of pounds are plundered from a trust, while us slaves are going around. You know the reason illegal immigrants get so much help in the United Kingdom? When they land on our shore, they're not registered, so they get the JD trainers. Listen, hotels, all of that. As soon as they're registered, exactly. As soon as they're registered, we're dead corporations. The Freemasons had a hand in doing that. So you just joined an organization to destroy your own people. And I'm saying this, strong, bro, wake up, king. Wake up.
Wake up, king.
He's talking about 5. In the whole organization. Not in my laws, I'm saying in the whole organization. It's all 5 days.
And you're one of them. And you're one of them.
Yes, I'm one of them.
Did you feel uncomfortable at all when you did the first ritual? At all?
What was the first ritual?
No comment.
The first ritual, I can tell you, because I'm going to tell you. The first ritual to become a first degree Freemason, you have to be blindfolded, yeah? Because they're going to remove Jesus or Muhammad, and then they're going to put themselves in the place of God. So he's replaced Jesus and Muhammad.
So his God is basically some 21st century dude no one even knows.
Satan, bull, at the very top, yeah? You have to reveal your nipple to prove that you're not a female, because to be a Freemason, you can only be a female. Yeah, you have to show your ankle. Yeah, and then you have to admit, if I say any of the secrets of Freemasonry to anyone, kill me, open up my stomach, and then distribute it across the world. This is what this young gentleman's done.
In religion, there are no secrets.
Like a medal, which is like, it has a big G on it and there's a triangle on it.
A medal for the medal.
You use what, Gnosticism? God?
Yeah. But I'm not going to get into what the triangle stands for though.
Why?
Man, we can Google it.
If anyone's interested,
Hashtag GPT.
Find my YouTube channel, Indigo Child 27 with 2 O's. You will see all of this, because it is a foul situation. On every single high street there's a Freemason lodge, and everyone's just walking around. Everyone's talking about spirituality, while people like this, young kings, yeah, that could be on our side, instead, they've joined the enemy.
It's Indian.
I fell. I was walking down the stairs. I hit my head on the banister. Jay Leno's on video. His whole left eye, his whole left side of his face is black and blue. And he has fallen down a hill, he claims. What's going on is something called soul scalping. And this is where a draconian, virile, powered parasite, a reptilian, comes in through the left eye and within 2 weeks kills the soul of the person it's inhabited, but takes over their memories and their consciousness. And it appears as though these people are not going through an initiation. They're not being punished for anything, but they're notables and people of influence. Now, we don't know this.
Free eye worm, look it up.
So this is probably some of the elites from the future. Some of the scientists that went missing or that was unalive. Some of them thought that aliens are from the future. They're saying they got like this from being underground for so many years. They say if you're underground for too long, you can develop a bald head, lose all your hair, your eyes can blow up, and you might look like this. So let's say this is actually what's happening. Why are they here now? Why are they here in 2026? Does this catastrophic event happen very soon or something? Is that why they're back? Trying to tell us or trying to stop it? And if the catastrophic event is about to happen, is it what's going on in the Middle East right now? Is it going to be tied to World War III? Is that why so many elites, so many higher people that has the money got the bunkers? Why they been prepping for something? Is this what it is? Are those going to be the ones that's the aliens eventually? Some of the people that have babies underground? Y'all let me know how y'all feel about this down below in the comments. This shit crazy.
I'm gonna stay up here, fam.
This has got to be one of the craziest Stone Age weapons ever found. It's a dagger made out of crystal, and it was found in Spain dating back to 5,000 years ago. Finding a piece of crystal this big in the first place is extremely hard, and then flint knapping it into this shape would have been super difficult. And that's because unlike the smooth interior of flint, crystal has a bunch of little imperfections that make it a nightmare to flint knap. What might be even crazier than the rock crystal is the hilt and the sheath that it came with. They were carved of elephant ivory, and if you recall, this was found in Spain, meaning that this material had to be traded probably from North Africa all the way to Spain in Stone Age times, suggesting that the Stone Age world was a lot more connected than we once thought. But what's just as interesting is where this dagger was actually found. It was found in a megalithic tomb in Valencia. The tomb contained the body of a young adult surrounded by extravagant grave goods that came from all over Europe and Africa. This included 270,769 beads, all carved by hand. Because of how elite the goods were, the body was presumed to be a wealthy, powerful male and nicknamed the Ivory Man. But in 2023, thanks to new techniques involving tooth enamel, we learned that the Ivory Man was really the Ivory Lady, and her burial is the most prominent in all of Iberia during this time. But in the graves next to hers, they found other burials of high status, all of which seem to have been high-status women. Truly an epic win for the feminists. They also found these, but just don't ask me what they were used for. So yeah, 5,000 years ago in Spain, this region may have been ruled by a woman wielding a crystal dagger. If you want to learn more about ancient history, check out my channel North02 and follow for more.
If you're experiencing more and more Mandela effects lately, no, you're not imagining this. There is something going on, and typically CERN is the culprit of this. So I'm going to read a few notes because I read on it recently. It seems like they're trying to find a super timeline and push us on that. So this is CERN's doing, and the super collider that CERN has. But they have not yet succeeded. It's all just experiments so far. And this is exactly why we're having all these errors and glitches and possible Mandela effects for some people. And it seems like they're also running out of time, or there's something with time going on. There's so many different timelines right now to distract from other things. And these little timelines actually turn into larger ones to make us forget about a lot of things, make us forget about history, traditions. They also cause more chaos and disasters. The current natural disasters that we're experiencing are a few of those, and also the wars that we're seeing. So this is just a tiny bit of insight.
You know that the Buddha is a Catholic saint, and I'm not joking. In the 11th century AD, medieval Europeans started hearing the story of Balaam and Josaphat. This story, which came from the East, was a massive hit and existed in over 60 versions in the medieval period. The story followed Josaphat, an Indian prince who was predicted at birth by an astrologer that he would forsake the world one day. His father was frightened at the thought and so kept Josaphat in luxury, trying to hide the world's sufferings from his son. But when Josaphat eventually escaped his pleasure palace prison, he saw a sick man, a blind man, and a deformed man. In a thundering instant, the young prince realized everything that his father had tried to keep from him, that the world was shot through with impermanence and suffering. Luckily, soon afterwards, a holy man called Balaam arrives from the island of Sri Lanka, converting Josaphat to Christianity, after which he adopts a life of devotion and simplicity. But if this story sounds very familiar, it's because you've probably heard it before. It's just that the main character is normally not called Josaphat, he's called Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha. So how did this all happen? Seemingly, it was a garbled process of translation where an original Sanskrit text about the Buddha's life was converted into Persian, then Arabic, into Georgian, then Greek, and finally Latin, with the name becoming more and more distorted along the way. When in the 19th century, scholars finally confirmed that Josaphat was none other than the Buddha, a founder of another of the world's great religions, it seemed that things had already gotten too far out of hand. For Saint Josaphat, the Buddha remains a saint in the Catholic and Orthodox churches up to this very day. If you'd like to hear another strange story about the Buddha, then consider checking out my latest YouTube video, in which I argue that the destruction of two iconic Buddha statues by the Taliban in 2001 may have unintentionally reinforced the Buddha's very deepest teachings. See you there.
Man, this is the first time I'm hearing it.
Wait, they ate what?
Body cakes at a charity gala.
I'm sorry, body cakes?
2011. Museum of Contemporary Art fundraiser. Gwen Stefani, Will Ferrell, California governor. 750 elite guests.
Okay, so celebrities at a...
Naked women on spinning platforms with skeletons on top. Human head replicas sticking through table. Life-size body cakes. Red velvet blood. Debbie Harry cuts into her own cake body with a machete.
What the fuck?
Guests ate the body parts. Getty Images documented everything.
And people just went along with this?
public event. Raised $2.5 million. Artist Marina Abramovich, same one who does spirit cooking.
I'm not surprised.
This can't be real.
Getty Images documented everything. Search Mocha Gala 2011 Marina Abramovich.
What did authorities say?
Official response. It's performance art.
That's it?
That's it. No investigation. No questions. Welcome to their reality.
They are showing and shoot you again and again what they have been doing.
In the middle of talking about Baphomet, and I was pushing the boundaries of what maybe is supposed to be said and what's not. I was divulging some occult secrets and different methods of sigil magic. And all of a sudden, I heard a big crash, and so did the host, and kind of looked at each other. But then all of a sudden, my internet went out, and I look over, what happened? I don't know what happened. I have a painting on the wall of Pazuzu, the demon from The Exorcist, a demon that I wrote about in Evil Archaeology. It just came crashing down. It took the internet out with it, and it was just lying there on the ground. And I thought, well, geez, maybe I shouldn't have been divulging all of those secrets.
Man, is she on something? She must be tripping.
Hidden for years inside a host vine, this organism develops without ever showing on the surface, drawing all of its nutrients from the plant it lives in. When it finally breaks through, it opens into a massive Rafflesia bloom in the forests of Indonesia, one of the largest single flowers on Earth.
Yep.
It survives without
that plant stinks.
Chlorophyll, meaning it can't produce its own energy, and it never forms leaves, stems, or roots. Instead of attracting bees, it releases a chemical odor that mimics rotting flesh to draw in carrion flies. Flies land and unintentionally transfer pollen as they move across the surface. The bloom only lasts a few days, then collapses and breaks down. This is one of the few plants that spends most of its life completely hidden, straight from the fish tank.
Precisely in 1905 that a deliberate destruction of the ether theory began in the scientific community as a result of a secret conspiracy among global industrialists and magnates. A series of figures were urgently put forward to the prestigious scientific Olympus of worldwide significance. They were then promoted all over the world, and in turn, they started replacing the concept of the ether and diverting physics into a completely different direction of research. Publishing his works on the topical issues of the time, Einstein began to expound on the theory of relativity. Skillfully, he managed to steer the scientific worldview in another direction. His patrons promptly popularized and presented his works as independent theories. In these scientific works, the notion of the ether was completely abolished due to lack of necessity. An upheaval began to take place in the scientific world. Scientists were cleverly pitted against each other, preventing them from reaching a common opinion. And in 1920, during the Congress of the Union of German Natural Scientists and Physicians held in Germany, the concept of ether was officially abolished in science. All these facts point to a sabotage in science, obstructing the discovery of free and no-cost ether energy for all of humanity.
Wow. Oh.
Nayo.
Recently, a strange girl appeared online. Before this, no one had ever seen her anywhere. This child has very unusual eyes. Not only are they red, but they also shine as if they were made of glass. According to the girl's mother, she possesses paranormal abilities, meaning she can predict the future. Previously, her parents kept her hidden from society to avoid questions. But once the girl started predicting the future, they began showing her and announcing what would happen next. Looking at her, it is clear she is a bit unusual. The girl is only 4 years old and has been hidden by her parents for all that time. It could also be a simple eye condition, and on top of that, the child is an albino, even though her parents are dark-skinned.
This movie told us exactly what happens at elite private parties, or more specifically, what they serve. And what you wish for, a chef is offered hundreds of thousands of dollars to cook for just one night. The only catch is that his ultra-wealthy clients have an appetite for something usually kept off the menu: human. While a plot this dark seems like pure fiction, the reality is actually much stranger. From exclusive galas where the dessert is shaped like human bodies, to high society gatherings where tables are decorated with body parts, by the end of this video, you will see how this film exposes the elite's real-life obsession with these bizarre secretive gatherings. While we have no evidence that these real-world elite gatherings serve anything illegal on their menu, we do know that they have absolutely no problem pretending to. A specific world-famous performance artist is heavily known for hosting incredibly strange and over-the-top gatherings. She organizes highly exclusive private dinner parties for some of the most powerful elites in both business and entertainment. At one of these infamous art gala events, she surprised her guests with the main dessert. It was a massive cake molded to look exactly like an ultra-realistic human body. The cake was meticulously sliced and passed around to the room, with some of the wealthy guests even eating directly off the lifelike figure. Even knowing this was technically just a sweet dessert, the underlying concept remains deeply disturbing to witness. Those who attended this high society dinner party were essentially simulating the horrific act of eating another person. By molding the cake in such a highly detailed way, the organizers created a dark environment where the guests could casually pretend to commit the act. The entire visual aesthetic of this entire event was incredibly disturbing. There are verified photographs of massive celebrities just hanging out, eating this cake, and having a great time as if this entire situation was completely normal. This perfectly mirrors the exact environment we just witnessed in the movie What You Wish For. The elite are more than willing to pay ridiculous amounts of money to participate in an exclusive and bizarre experience meant to further separate them from everyday people. In the movie, they achieve this by literally consuming the locals. In the real world, they commission ultra-realistic human cakes and pretend to do the exact same thing just for the thrill of the performance. This bizarre obsession with twisted gatherings goes back much further than modern performance art. Decades ago, one of the most notoriously wealthy European banking dynasties hosted a private event that perfectly mirrors the atmosphere of these movies. In 1972, this family held an infamous surrealist ball at their massive French estate. The invitation itself was written backwards. Guests were forced to hold the card up to a mirror just to read the location. When the most wealthy and famous individuals arrived, they found the entire exterior of the mansion glowing in bright red light. The building was specifically designed to look like it was literally on fire. Inside, the guests were required to wear the most bizarre masks imaginable. People arrived with their faces covered by bird cages, animal heads, and multiple fake eyes.
Wow, look at those.
I would argue that there is a connection between the indigenous people and these ancient cultures that existed prior to the Younger Dryas impact. And so when the Templars came over, they had signs, symbols, and tokens that the indigenous people recognized. And they became blood brothers, is one of the words that are used in the journals. And they bonded through ritual and intermarriage. When they brought the treasures over, I mean, they were going into indigenous territory. First and foremost, you have to get permission to do this. And they said, fine. And so they buried him in multiple places. And essentially what the indigenous people said to Earl Henry and later generations that would come and check on the treasures is, look, you are our brothers. Gold and silver mean nothing to us. If this is important to you, we will guard these treasures for you.
I'm going to show you 5 different angles that we have of this UFO that was spotted in Miami. We've never had this much high quality footage of a single UFO before. Here we have a shot of it at the beach side in Miami, and if you look close, you can see that it appears to be dropping something down to the surface. And then there's this one where you can see the same red lights and also the triangular shape. But with this one, you can see that it seems kind of like spiky. And many people are speculating that this might be the mothership we've been hearing about for years that said it was going to reveal itself to humanity because the government is taking too long to reveal it itself. And here's the last clip where we can see the mothership from the opposite side of Miami Beach. And I think this is really cool because we've never seen a UFO with this many different camera angles. And of course, the news isn't covering any of this, even though there's been many eyewitness reports who have recorded this at different camera angles all around the city. Because we know the news is fake, they've not been helping anyone ever. But I think the most interesting thing about this is we've been hearing about a mothership that was in around the Gulf of America region in Florida that said it was going to reveal itself to humanity at a certain point in time in the very near future because the government has not revealed it to the public yet when they were given a deadline to do so. And they've gone past that deadline, so now the aliens or whoever's up there is now going to reveal itself to humanity on its own.
Blue beam or just complete BS?
The ritual to become a 33rd degree Mason is more unimaginable than you can ever dream of. The purpose that Masons tell its members is to turn men into gods. But to do so, to become a god, you must first cease to be a man. For this ritual, you are blindfolded and led to do the unthinkable, what they call riding the goat. It is an act with a beast to shatter your humanity and break every natural law that God has given man. In the Bible, the goat is the rebel, the one that refuses the shepherd. The core ideology of Freemasonry is Gnosticism. And Gnosticism, as well as Kabbalah, these are the religions of the elites. And to them, the God of the Old Testament is the villain. He is a jealous God that has trapped us in this prison of flesh and rules. And since he is evil, that makes all the demons in the Bible the good guys. To them, the serpent in the garden is the ultimate hero. All of these occult religions stem from one line of scripture. The serpent telling Eve that breaking the one rule God has given in not eating the fruit from the tree of knowledge of good and evil will make them like gods. And that is what God is afraid of. The goat is mentioned in Leviticus, where the sins of the people are cast onto it, and the goat is sent into the wilderness to Azazel, the same entity that in the book of Enoch gives man the knowledge of swords and shields, women the knowledge of makeup and mirrors. They view the only way to break out of this prison is through knowledge, through breaking God's laws, making them better than mankind. Matthew 25:33 says, "He shall set the sheep on his right hand," meaning the sheep follow the shepherd, but the goats on the left. Goats are the rebels. They are the symbol of the left-hand path, thus always portrayed as Satan. And this isn't just a conspiracy. Albert Pike, the sovereign grand commander of the Masons, Manly P. Hall, Masonry's most celebrated philosopher, wrote extensively on the importance of the goat. And this is where Baphomet comes in, the ultimate symbol of man becoming God. This half-beast, half-man creature with the tattoos of Salve and Coagula on its forearms, meaning you must break down man into rebuilding him into something greater. You must take all the beliefs, all the humanity instilled in you and destroy it to become a god.
I was waiting to hear they harm goats.
This is the most haunted house in Ohio. This is the Gill House.
Ooh.
Completed in 1904 Bloomer and Nellie Gill. It's hosted some famous people such as Henry Ford and Thomas Edison. 2 children have passed in the home, J. Gill baby and James Gill Jr., 17 years old. Mary Gill lived in the home until 1951. She passed away in the home too. For decades, people have reported ghosts here. Paranormal activity reported. Native American spirit lingers in basement. The attic is where Mr. Gill is said to be seen, hearing off children's laughter, electronic malfunctions, footsteps, and so much more.
I heard the whole state of Ohio is haunted. Anyone from Ohio here? Drop a comment, please.
They symbolize the different body parts of your body. Anubis is the dog, which represents the tongue, the barking, because the power of life and death is in the tongue. The falcon of Horus is the inner bird, which is inside of the brainstem. Thoth, the god of wisdom. Thoth is thought, because he is the god of wisdom, the thought, the human mind. Jed pillar is the spinal column, which is a part of the brain. The Ankh is the womb, the uterus in the womb, because this is the portal into the physical world. This is symbolizing how the visual field works with the brain, because you do not see into the external world. What you are seeing is an image produced by the visual cortex in the back of the brain. The back of the casket is the cerebellum, which is all to do with motor learning and cognitive functions of the brain. The scarab is the skull. Hindus used to build temples in the human form because they understood this is the most advanced piece of technology on the face of the earth. The Most High does not dwell in houses made by human hands. It's your human body. You are God made flesh. They don't want you finding out how sacred your body is and
This is Gnostics, man.
how powerful your mind is. You are the all-seeing eye on top of the pyramid,
Freemasonry.
looking into the three-dimensional world. You are Solomon's temple, the temple of the soul and the mon, the soul and the mind in the temple. If you want to learn more, read this book.
There was a second pyramid war. Amun-Ra, also known as Marduk, he's Amun-Ra. He started a war because he wanted to extend his kingship. He wanted to take over kingship in other areas that he wasn't supposed to on the planet, so forth, so on. And so that war was nuclear. They used weapons, and the reason why you know it's nuclear because the description of the way that the people were dying specifically says that their nails were falling out, their hair was falling out, blood was coming out of their eyes. This is radiation sickness, obviously. Mm-hmm. And so we know that it was a nuclear war. When you go into those regions, Mohenjo-Daro in the Indus Valley, the buildings there turned to glass. They're still sitting there. The bodies are still laying in the street holding hands. No animals have scavenged on those bodies. They're still laying there. You go to Africa, to Cairo, and you go to Giza. If you put your hand in the sand and pull up, every now and then you pull up balls of glass. That's what they used to carve the scarab beetles out of because they're making a ode to the gods for the war that happened. To turn sand into glass, you have to have 3,000 degree temperature glass, right? So we know that there was a war that happened, and that war is what really caused them to want to flee. In one of the tablets, Enki goes to Anu and says, "Can you please stop the evil wind?" That's what they call it. That's nuclear fallout. He's like, "There's nothing I can do for a boat and get in your ship." And so he told him, like, "Turn around, man, get in that ship. We got to get out of here because this thing is coming." And they said that evil wind covered the land and killed all the animals, the people, and everything else. And a lot of these people never came back.
No, there's a lot of speculation as to why these scientists, UFOologists, are being whacked. And I think a lot of it comes down to anti-gravity propulsion systems, which can effectively teleport non-biological matter from point A to point B instantly, for lack of better words. So if that technology exists, I think the main concern is that it can be used and weaponized instead of being, dispersed across the globe in the form of free energy. What the governments will inevitably do is use it to transfer bombs from point A to point B, so no warning system. And this is a huge factor in what could potentially be World War III, and probably part of the reason that Albert Einstein said World War IV would be fought with sticks and stones, because we will relegate ourselves back to the Plesiozoic era. There was that guy that killed himself in the Tesla. You remember? Was it in Vegas or Mar-a-Lago, whatever it was. That guy blew himself up in a Tesla with a cryptic note regarding the use of these devices. And it seems that all of these scientists that were murdered and UFOologists that were killed all happen to be coinciding with the release of the UFO files, which at the end of the day, the government's not going to release anything that's going to tell you how to effectively use free energy to better the world. Obviously, they're going to gatekeep all of the information.
I agree.
90% bullshit with the 10% truth that society's like, oh my God, they released it. But I'm pretty sure aliens are us from the future, or us from under the ground, or them from under the ground. But one thing they're not, I don't think, is from another planet entering our atmosphere. You know what I mean? So something to think about.
The demons,
don't
man.
get your panties in a bunch about it. Long live the dead. These are heroes of our great time. And frankly, martyrdom should be the goal of any man with a set of testicles. If you're that important that the government whacks you, then you're doing something right in this world. So keep your fucking chin up. Never surrender. Keep on fucking fighting.
The rings are on point, by the way.